Yes, family, it's high noon. You're tuned to the State of the City, here live on Soul Classics 1590 WFBR. I'm your host, Brother Muhammad. Let me thank all of you, and I do mean all of you at the top of the hour, the top of the show, and the top of the flow, for having us locked in and clocked in on those raggedy radios. Please do yourselves a favor. Turn them up nice and loud to give you and to get you a big fat Thursday, late morning, early afternoon crowd on this Thursday, August the 15th, 2013, and then go one step further. Call your family, call your friends, call your kith and kin. Call those that have your complexion and those that have your divine connection, and even those that want to help to bring about some universal corrections in the city, in the state, in this country, and on the planet. And of course, you know you got to call them slow workers, the no workers, and some you know are guaranteed to be even more show workers right now, meaning they're going to be listening to the show and the flow, not thinking about the dope. So the old saying go, act like you know, but you're tuned to the State of the City. Let me start the show off as I always do by first and foremost reminding you that we're now streaming live on the World Wide Web. So you can join us at www.1590wfbr.com. And for those of you that would like to join us on our social network media page, you can join us on one way through our Twitter page, which is the #1 State of the City. And for those of you that would like to send us that Facebook request, you can send us that Facebook request and be my guest for the next hour before we're through at Darren, D-A-R-E-N, State of the City. Last name is Muhammad, M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D. Get it right, get it tight, and you'll have us locked in the site. And for those that would like to join us via TuneIn Radio on them raggedy phones and them iPads, and of course through your iPhones, then you can join us at Spreaker, S-P-R-E-A-K-E-R. Download the app, and you'll be able to get in where you fit in and fit in when you get in on the conversation. And speaking of the conversation, let me start the show off as I always do by first and foremost dedicating the show to my brother and friend, Brother Eric Easton. And let me take this opportunity to dedicate the show to the queen, to the sister who joined me on the show in the flow yesterday, Sister Shahrazad Ali, for a very beautiful show and a very bountiful show in terms of the information and the inspiration that was shared on the State of the City on the yesterday's show. Let me give you a couple of announcements, and then we're going to get right into the show in the flow. Got a guest joining me on the line and for a few, and then I got another guest that's going to be joining me shortly thereafter. So let me get a couple of announcements out of the way, and we getting right into the show and the flow. Tomorrow's guest will be none other, as I talked about in the 90s, when America was willing to have some conversation about racism, placism, and spacism. Then there were two sisters that were out there on the forefront that you could see on the Dr. Phil Donahue show, or Phil Donahue show, before they came with the doctors and all that other foolishness. But there were Sister and Queen Shahrazad Ali, and the other was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. So she will be joining me on the State of the City tomorrow, and wanted to make sure we get that out of the way. Let me get a couple announcements out of the way before we go to the line. Don't forget, next Saturday, the 24th of August. Now, I'm not talking about the March on Washington, not talking about the commemoration, not talking about the Al Sharpton shakedown and the RSVP dinner that they're having on the actual date of the march, which is the 28th. Not talking about that RSVP dinner that they're going to be having, that you got to have big bucks in order to get in. But I'm talking about the 2013 Nat Turner Tour that's going down. Honor the man, defend the legacy. Next Saturday, August 24th, Southampton, Virginia. And to get your tickets, this event, of course, is brought to you by Soul School Institute. You want to call 410-385-9532, or you can do a righteous drive-by past Terra Cafe at 25th and St. Paul. Expressions Cultural Center right there at 222 North Packer Street. Of course, the owner and proprietors are the Evans family, and or Everyone's Place Bookstore at 1356 West North Avenue to get your tickets to be a part of, again, the Nat Turner Tour that's going down next week on the 24th, of course, in terms of the buses that will be leaving Baltimore. So you can call, again, 410-385-9532 to get more information regarding the Nat Turner Tour. Don't forget, next Saturday, of course, Baba Charlie Duggar and the 43rd anniversary and commemoration of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey going down this upcoming Saturday, the 17th. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow and on Saturday as well. So stay tuned and make sure that, of course, our organizations demonstrate organizational, operational unity on that day, if no other day of the year, in the city of Baltimore. So I just thank Baba Charlie Duggar for the work he's continued to do in the spirit of, again, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And that starts, of course, at 10 a.m., and that's the parade. And then, of course, from 12 to 7, they're in Harlem Park. So, again, as the old saying goes, don't meet me there, but beat me there. And then tomorrow, I understand there will be a march and demonstration to the Mexican Embassy regarding the death of our brother, the grandson of Malcolm X, Malcolm Shabazz. So that will be taking place tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. You can go on my Facebook page, and if time permits, we'll give you some information toward the end of the show regarding that. But again, I thank those comrades, those brothers and sisters, the Afro-Mexicanos, and brothers and sisters here in the states that are continuing to stand up regarding, again, the death of young brother Malcolm Shabazz and the cover-up by Mexican authorities. So that demonstration will be taking place tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. again, in front of the Mexican Embassy. And you know most of the embassies are on Embassy Row, Massachusetts Avenue. So if you care, you'll go on the internet, use social network media, and find out, as I said before, how you can go down and participate. If you love Malcolm and love, of course, the legacy of Malcolm X, here's your opportunity to demonstrate it. Also, let me also take this opportunity, of course, as we begin to wrap up, before we bring up my guest, to talk about, again, the demonstrations and the boycotts, as we will be calling for a boycott as we have with Florida and the orange juice makers. But we will be calling for a boycott of H&S Bakery, and we'll give you a list of the H&S Bakery products in the city of Baltimore. I'm talking John Paterakis, I'm talking Michael Beatty, I'm talking about hitting them where they're trying to hit you, and again, using economic withdrawal in the spirit of Dr. King. And let's see if we'll have others willing to step up and do that, from your church to other organizations as well. And we'll give you a list today and tomorrow of the products that are made by, again, H&S Bakery. But we'll start with Schmidt's Blue Ribbon Bread, or the Schmidt's Bread, which many and plenty around here, of course, can find in most of your supermarkets. So we're going to be asking you just to buy anything other than Schmidt's Bread if we're serious about economic justice in the city of Baltimore for our children and our children's children, since John Paterakis is looking out for his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren, at the same time neglecting, of course, our children in the city of Baltimore. So we'll talk about that. But let me bring up this guest that I want to get up and get on the line quickly, because, of course, this is the summer season, and we're now in the dog days of August, although you couldn't tell by the weather outside. Oh, let me make this announcement, too. This is the Anthony Brown, Doug Gansler free zone. Do not call up in here today asking me about Anthony Brown and Doug Gansler. At a time when we see in Maryland home foreclosures are going up, you worrying about the elections. I'm talking about their neglection and their dereliction of their duties toward the citizens in the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. So when I open up the lines today, if I open up lines, do not call up in here asking me about Doug Gansler and Anthony Brown, the schmuck and the buck and the ugly duck when it comes to Heather, Missouri. Do not call up in here asking me about the schmuck, the buck, and the ugly duck at a time when you losing your homes, losing your jobs, and some of you just lost your mind. Talking about race, the governor's race, which is until next year. You may not even be in your house next year. You may not even be on your job next year. You may not even be on this planet next year. So when I open up the lines, please do not call up in here asking me about my thoughts. This is the Doug Gansler, Anthony Brown free zone, and it's the Baltimore Raven free zone. At a time you can't get lights on your baby's football fields and basketball courts, you worrying about the Ravens playing in a preseason game. Come to find out, they one of the biggest, most successful franchises in the NFL, and they can't get back no money to Baltimore City Public Schools outside of what Art Modell gave. But since Bisciotti took over, I don't think Bisciotti's giving back any significant money. I don't think Bisciotti's put up no money to put no lights on none of these fields. And you know, some of you parents, you got your babies out there in the corner right now with buckets in hand trying to get some donations and donations. You know what I'm saying is true. And this afternoon, you had your lights on the field, look like a damn Soul Train line, just so Man, Boo Boo, Nay, Riri, and them can have basketball practice, band practice, football practice, any other kind of practice. But let me go to the line and get my guest up, man, shortly. This brother's no stranger. For those of us come up in the Department of Recreation, man, we got to have a Department of Recreation Hall of Fame. Because where would many of us be without the coaches, without the directors, without the protectors, and those that made it possible for us to be able to go and learn those life lessons on the court, on the fields, and every place else, in order to grow to become the men and women that many of us have become today, maybe with the exception of City Council President Jack Young. Maybe with the exception of City Council President Jack Young and some other youngs running around here. Because while the brothers were being athletes and the sisters were being athletes, they were being ass cheap, sitting on the sideline playing jacks with the girls. Or while we was playing Scully and learning those lessons about Scully, they was maybe playing some, hopscotch with the girls. But let me go to the line, man. bring up my guest that I want to have on the first segment of the show. This brother, again, man, is no stranger. He's just known as Brother Murdoch to all the brothers out there in the streets and the brothers on the court, man, in terms of the young people as well as the parents and grandparents when it comes to recreation in the city of Baltimore. So let me say good afternoon to you, my brother. Peace be unto you, and welcome to the state of the city, Brother Murdoch.
Good, how you doing there?
I'm good, brother. Let's go ahead, man, and give your contact information and let brothers and sisters know where you can be reached.
We're right now doing with the projects of our basketball program. We're running it down at the St. Francis Academy School. And
yes,
what we're doing, we're into the playoffs beginning this year.
Yes, sir.
And they like to do things for everybody in the city, been supporting the program.
Right.
And now we're trying to get the playoff situation straight.
Yes,
we're
sir.
still trying to ask people if they would like to help us out with the program.
Okay.
And that's basically where we're at right now.
Yes, sir. Just trying to get some support. Now, where can brothers and sisters either call or send donations? And well, I'll let you give that information out before I say what I got to say.
They can really get in touch with one of the committee's chairmen, and I'll give you the committee chairman's name.
Yes, sir.
And he would be the one to really take that information.
Okay.
We're really running the program behind the fact that we lost running walls.
Yes, sir.
A couple of years just this year.
Yes, sir.
He called Mr. John Holmes, and his number is 443-324-8631.
All right, get that one more time. Get that one more time.
That's the chairman running that part. We like that. We hoping everybody will continue to support the program.
Yes, sir. So
And
Project
we
Survival.
definitely want to give thanks to everybody.
Yes, sir.
In
So
the city.
right. So Project Survival is now into the playoffs, right?
Yes, we are. This will be the 40th year.
Okay,
onto
beautiful.
The program.
Yes, sir. Now I gotta ask a question before I let you go. Now, is BNBL still taking place in the city, Baltimore
still doing a
neighborhood?
good job. They still running.
Okay. Yes,
They're
sir.
still running that BNBL program.
Okay. All right. So again,
you gotta get people in Brewer Recreation. They're trying to keep that program going.
good.
They
Okay.
are.
Okay. Let's give Brother John's number one more time where brothers and sisters can call so that they can support again Project Survival and our young people, Brother Murdoch.
Okay, and his number here again is area code 443.
Yes, sir.
All right. Wait a minute, I'm just trying to snatch off 443-327.
Right.
324.
Yes, sir.
8631. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
brother.
you very
Appreciate
much,
you, man.
man.
Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work
Bye.
now. All right, peace. And with that was Brother John Murdoch. For those that know, man, Murdoch been in this city for years and, of course, working with young people, providing, of course, athletics. And I just want to thank him. But as I said before, we need to have a Department of Recreation or Recreation Hall of Fame in the city of Baltimore for those such as Brother Murdoch and many more around the city that have helped in the growth and development of all of us as young men and young women in the city of Baltimore to help us to grow to become the persons that we have become. So, again, we'll be lifting up some of the names of those, again, as I grew up in the city of Baltimore and Crispus Attucks and, of course, in Cherry Hill. But in Crispus Attucks, Brother John Randolph and many of those that were there that helped in my growth and development that I'll never, ever, ever forget. And we have to give those brothers and sisters, of course, their flowers while they're living. And with my children who, of course, spent much time in Cahill Recreation Center and the great works of Miss Alice Ebb and all of the fine staff there at Cahill, man. So we always got to lift them up. And, of course, Baba Clee-Brister, who can talk about recreations in the city of Baltimore without bringing up and mentioning Baba Clee-Brister. And I know that I think this past weekend was the anniversary of the annual festival that is held in honor of former delegate Ruth Kirk, which took place down in that Franklin Square community. So I want to thank Baba Clee-Brister and his beautiful wife, Mama Nancy, with the work that they've continued to do and keeping, again, communities relevant in the city of Baltimore and recreations relevant in the city of Baltimore. So, again, you're tuned to the State of the City. We're going to go to this quick musical break as we're working to get our next guest up that I want to get up and get on the air this afternoon, of course, and that is Councilwoman Belinda Conaway. So let me go to this quick musical break as we work to get her up and get her on the State of the City, and then we'll be right back with more of the show and the flow on the State of the City. And so with that, it's all about respect, y'all, as we talk about this boycott that we're going to be planning again and asking those in the city of Baltimore that really care. Boycott H&S Bakery and H&S Bakery byproducts as well, but it's an educational process to teach the people, not beat the people, so that when they go to the supermarket, they at least know Schmidt's Blue Ribbon and they know H&S Bakery. When you look for that bread, you see H&S Bakery or Northeast Foods, then we're asking you to please boycott until we can sit down at the table. And as the old saying goes, when we look at these politics and politricks in the city of Baltimore, that when they taking and using, of course, a page out of the books of the politricians in Chicago. Speaking of Chicago, I'll be coming back to that shortly. Talk about Jesse Jackson and his wife, both on a straight trail of jail with no bail. Both on a straight trail of jail with no bail. But in terms of Chicago politics, here in the city of Baltimore politics, the old saying goes, when deals and steals and kills are being made at the table, if you're not at the table, then you better know that your ass is on the menu. So the question is, who's at the table for us, representing us and speaking for us to make sure we get our fair share in the city of Baltimore? So we're going to go to this quick musical break as we work to get Councilwoman Belinda Conaway up. But we're asking you, of course, to boycott Schmidt's Bread, as well as H&S products or Northeast Foods. And we'll continue to give you a list of the rolls, buns, muffins, and whatever else that they make, so that you'll know that when you go in the stores, mama, because they're, again, not being kind when it comes to God's children, and particularly in the city of Baltimore, around the issues of economics, around the issue of housing, around the issues of recreation, around the issues of parks and everything else, that they're telling you that you and your children are not wanted, and they're using money. They're using community development block grant money, federal money that should be coming into building up the neighborhoods, but they're using it downtown to build up, again, Harbor East, while they treat you as the least in the city of Baltimore. So again, we're going to go to this quick musical break, work to get Councilwoman Belinda Conaway up, and we'll be back with more of the state of the city. So in the meantime, in between time, listen to this message.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take out T-C-T. Suck it to me, suck it to me, center and slay. Suck it to me, suck it to me, suck it to me. Woo, hey, center and slay. Just a little bit, I get tired. Keep on trying, just a little bit. You're running out of food, and I ain't lying. Just a little bit. Please stop when you come home, or you might walk in and find out I love. Just a little.
I've seen streets where you were forced to take the long way home. And I've seen the mothers mourn the loss of their only born. Still I believe we are given nothing more than we can bear. Our vision is only blurred when life seems unfair. So who am I to judge the man with the needle in his vein, when he's just chasing freedom to escape the pain of the world's fast-paced highways and shortcomings? He's just trying to make do, find a way out of nothing. It's like we're damned if we do, and damned if we don't. And it's a very thin line between respect and being broken, being one red button away free. Always called the minority, and always pulled over, facing police brutality. Why is every street a living hell? Probably because they want us to fail, yeah. 3 strikes and surely packed to jail, like the slave ships when they sail. Whoa, whoa. Years and years of civil rights chasing to pass that bill. But ask yourself, people haven't changed, but they're always standing still. Down and out struggling in this concrete jungle, one check away from starvation, poverty. But they say being free, it's about speaking your mind.
Welcome back. You're listening to the State of the City, and now family. It gives me great honor and great delight, as we promised, of course, an opportunity this afternoon doing the Black August series here on the State of the City, to have a conversation with, again, our councilwoman. She, of course, is Councilwoman Belinda Conaway, 7th District City Councilwoman. And I'm always saying, of course, Belinda Conaway is not gone away. She's still here, still clear, still sincere. And, of course, she's joining us this afternoon on the State of the City. So let me take this opportunity once again to introduce to some, reintroduce to others, and allow more of you, to, again, get reacquainted with a sister who is part of a continuation of a great family of politics and a legacy of politics and public service in the city of Baltimore. She, of course, is the daughter of the clerk of the city, City Clerk Frank Conaway, the dean, who is still here, as well as, of course, her mom, the Register of Wills, or former Register of Wills, Mary Conaway. So let me take this opportunity once again to welcome back to the State of the City, sister who I love dearly and sincerely, Councilwoman Belinda Conaway. Good afternoon, my sister.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be on with you.
Always happy to have you join us on the State of the City. As you heard me say, that Belinda Conaway is not gone away. She's here to stay and joining us today on the State of the City. All right?
Absolutely. I like that.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
Well, for those that perhaps are new to town and may not be familiar with Councilwoman Belinda Conaway and, of course, your legacy and the work of the Conaway family, let's give them your contact information where you can be reached.
Belinda Conaway 2014 at gmail.com.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, let's talk about, of course, how are you and how's the family? Because, of course, this is the time to spend time with family. And I got to respect one of the few that I see acting as an adult in Annapolis right now, and that is State Comptroller Peter Francho, who said we should start school after Labor Day so that families and businesses can have more time to spend with their family throughout the entire month of August before they go back to school. So how are you and how's the family?
I'm doing well, thank you, and the family is doing well. First of all, I always like to acknowledge the fact that I'm so thankful for the people who still lovingly embrace me,
Yes.
that still provide encouragement, that still send cards and give me calls. I appreciate that so much. It is a blessing that people acknowledge the work that has been done, and that it makes me know that they have not forgotten me.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm very thankful for that, and I definitely want to let your listeners know that I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I wanted to bring you on, of course, so that the family could be, of course, get updated in terms of what you've been doing since you've left the council, but you're still serving, of course, this city and the citizens, and particularly two groups that you've always been very thoughtful of and have worked closely with, that being our children and the elderly in the city of Baltimore. Talk about, of course, your work on the council, and then, of course, we're going to talk about in a few minutes, you're now as a candidate for the Register of Wills in the city of Baltimore.
Well, there's a lot of work that was done, and as things happen, I often reflect on legislation and other issues that were brought up. But when you talk about meaningful things, like trying to get the funding for recreation centers or securing funding for youth summer jobs, which was one of the last things that I was able to do as a city council member. There was a year that I was able to get funding to keep recreation centers open longer,
Yes.
which gave our young people someplace to go. In making sure that it's mandatory that in a vacant home, the water is cut off. So,
Yes.
you know, if you're in your house and a house floods, a vacant home floods, that shouldn't happen because it causes damage to your property. There are very significant things that happen, and having a hearing about the lead paint, people have been affected by lead paint who the city refused to pay those bills, and I looked on the news and saw that there was some movement that they finally started
Yes, ma'am.
paying
That's right.
some of those
Finally,
lawsuits.
but that's almost too much, too little, too late, because they got at least 100 or more that's coming down the pike right now. But thank you, of
Well,
course.
it's a movement.
It's a
but
movement.
I can tell you that the hearing that we had with those families was
That's right.
one that I will never forget. Just that the young people that talked about how it affected their lives,
That's right.
their everyday life. You know, it's really it really gave me
Right.
a real look into what was going on and the kind of help and support
That's
that
right.
they needed.
That's right. And I thank you for that. It was interesting to see the news media talking about police beefing up patrols around robberies around iPhones and iPads. But how about the robbery of the lives of these young people who had to live in homes and in schools for years, drinking water that was, again, infested with high levels of lead. And many, of course, have not had their day in court. So, again, I thank you for that legislation. And that's what it's going to take, the legislation and litigation to turn, of course, this city around and begin to have some semblance of justice for our people in the city of Baltimore, because the lead issue is tied to the violence issues that we're talking about in the city of Baltimore. So I thank you for that sensible legislation. Let's continue because, of course, you were there and introduced legislation around the issue of Robert Clay and his death and so many other things that you introduced legislation around public safety and putting cameras in cars, which would protect, again, the good officers and allow us to expose the bad officers like this one that's on trial now, Anthony Fader. But please continue, Councilwoman Conaway.
Well, I mean, things like that protect citizens and protect officers. I don't think anybody wins when they are frivolous lawsuits, and certainly nobody wins when they're justified lawsuits.
That's right.
You know, I mean, we'd like to be on the preventative end of things, and that was my perspective. If we could do something to help prevent these things from happening, then let's do it. And also the effort to do away with the speed cameras.
That's right.
That was one of my last pieces of legislation, which was ignored at that time, and we see how much has happened since then.
Now, do you think the city ought to hire you as a consultant? I just got to ask that question now. You know, because if they can hire others that aren't from Baltimore and you're giving them sensible policies that they could use, if they just would have listened to you, then they would have saved the citizens in the city probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars right now. But please continue.
Well, it seemed as though it was a money-generating effort. When you have all these cameras and people getting tickets, and you know the more and more tickets being issued, when you look over the course of a year,
right,
you want it to decrease and not increase, because if it decreases, then that means that what you're doing is effective.
Right.
If it increases, then obviously this is not the most effective route to take. But according, those are not the things that the political machine wanted on the city council.
That's right.
But I sleep good every night because I worked for people, and I'm very thankful that I did it that way, because people have embraced me, and I feel good when I'm out in the community and people talk about the legislation of things that were done to improve their lives. Working to get Easterwood Recreation Center reopened.
Yeah, please talk about that, because I had a conversation, it was a very brief conversation with your opponent who ran against you, of course. And I always say it's not that Nick Mosby beat you, the Democrats didn't want to keep you. So that's the bottom line. If they did, they would have told Nick Mosby to stand down, just as in this case of Gansler and Brown. If the Democrats were serious about Brown ascending to the governor's office, they would tell Gansler to stand down. They would tell Heather Mazur to stand down. But the mere fact that they're not means that they're being political opportunists toward Brown becoming the first African-American, quote, when he wants to be governor in the state of Maryland. But I had a conversation with him, which he tried to tell me that it was his efforts to reopen, of course, Easterwood. And I was there and attended many of those meetings when Sheila Dixon was the mayor. And I can't think of the young lady who was there as the director of recreation. Her name escapes me right now.
Portia Harris.
Yeah, Portia, but it was the one before Portia that they walked out of the building there with the short hair.
Wanda.
Yeah, Wanda. It's not Dixon, but that's all right. No. She's not relevant right now. But let's continue. The fact that you work with
Easterwood had several meetings. The Omegas, which they have their fraternity house in the 7th District. The Omegas wanted to partner with Recreation and Parks so that recreation center could be reopened. They do a lot in the community and reaching out in that area and working with Matthew Henson, but they felt that they could expand the activities. At one time, there was talk of bringing another organization in to run the recreation center, but there was concern that particular organization charged. There were a lot of fees associated with the programming.
Yes, ma'am.
So in working with the Omegas, and like you said, there were several meetings, there was a great effort to make sure that they would be able to access that recreation center that had closed.
That's right.
And we were able to get them in there, and they were able to open. And of course, all of that opening and everything occurred after I left office.
Yes.
But the groundwork certainly and the opportunity was something that I worked with the Omegas and Recreation and Parks with. Having programming for young people was very important to me. Yes. I'm also working with Ashburton Elementary Middle and getting after-school programming for them, because that's an area where they were starting to have a lot of problems with young people and things happening around school.
That's right.
And so we work with the Family League to get programming in there after school, and also to get the much-needed repairs
Yes.
for Ashburton Elementary Middle.
That's right.
To get the playground, I worked very hard to get that new playground at Robert Coleman.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. That's
I mean,
right.
so, all of these things, there are a lot of things that happen that perhaps a lot of people don't know.
Right. That's right.
But it was a lot of work.
Yes.
But it was worthwhile work.
That's right.
It was a great opportunity to help families.
Yes, ma'am. And we're forever thankful and grateful, of course. And now, of course, you have now registered as a candidate for the Register of Wills. So let's talk about that. We're brothers and sisters and listeners that would like to support you in your, of course, campaign. But also we'll talk about what are the duties and responsibilities of the office of the Register of Wills.
Okay. Well, when people pass, they have a will, or if they don't have a will, they still have to open an estate. But in making sure that the state gets something that they're supposed to get, and that the family members get what they are supposed to get, and making sure that everyone gets what they're supposed to, but most importantly, the state of Maryland.
Yes.
They get the monies that they're supposed to get. And again, I know that there are many people who said, we want to see you on the city council. And what I've explained to people is that if that's true, that takes a big grassroots effort.
That's
because,
right.
as
That's
you
right.
know,
Yes.
we don't raise a lot of money.
That's right.
Campaigns, because that means that I can be independent and I can really serve people instead of being forced to serve
Right.
the people that are putting money in my campaign account.
That's right.
So right now, I'm running for Register of Wills, and what I also explain to people that, it's what you make it.
Right.
I can tell you that my father is a great example of that. Frank Conaway is clerk of the circuit court.
Yes.
He is probably the most vocal clerk of circuit court in the state of Maryland.
He is
So
indeed.
the position is what you make it.
That's right.
I am here to serve people and to help people. That has always been the way that I've operated, and it doesn't make a difference where I am.
Yes.
That is what I plan to do. I plan to serve people.
Yes, ma'am. And if there is a campaign website where already set up, established, or Facebook or Twitter, social media, where listeners can get more information, of course, on your efforts to become the next Register of Wills in the city of Baltimore.
I can be contacted at that Belinda Conaway 2014 at gmail.com. And right now we are pulling people in. There's so many people that have come on board. I'm so thankful. But anyone that wants to get any level of help, it doesn't have to be financial. There are many, many other things that we'll need help with. So if you would like to come on board, we would love to have you, and I'm looking forward to hearing from some of the listeners.
Yes, ma'am. That's important now. Of course, you're too kind, because I'd make them pay every meeting they come to. Ain't like I'm creating something new. They got to pay before they go to movie, got to pay when they go to church. So you get them while they got it, because they're going to be spending on the game tonight, spending on happy hour tomorrow, and spending throughout the rest of the year. So you're very kind, again.
I can tell you, when we did the write-in campaign, there were some people that came on board. They didn't have a lot of money,
yes,
but they were very, very helpful in some other areas. So don't think that it's all about the money.
No.
If you want to help, and,
Right.
whatever it is that you can help with, we'll find something.
That's right. Yes,
Because
ma'am.
you need the help. So don't, I don't want people to be turned away thinking I don't have enough money.
Right.
No, we need help.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
please contact me at Belinda Conaway 2014 at gmail.com. We'd love to have you.
Okay, all right. Got to ask your thoughts and comments on, of course, just the current state of the city. This radio show, of course, is entitled The State of the City. Right now, we seem to be looking at the fate of the city, as well as perhaps SOC save our city, when we're looking at the current climate of what's going on in the Baltimore City Council right now. And the city council president, which is not supposed to be a rubber stamp for the mayor, but supposed to really be a representative of the people. So thoughts and comments on what we're seeing around this issue of Harbor Point. And again, going back to one of the major problems when you were there was this issue of the developers getting more than just their fair share, while the communities east, north, west, south are suffering in the city of Baltimore.
Absolutely, and what I have encouraged people to do is you have to support your elected officials that support you.
Yes.
And you have to reach out. If you can't call, you need to email. And I know people say, well, some people say that doesn't matter, but it does. You got to let your elected people know that you're out there, you have an opinion, you're watching what's going on, and that you're watching the way that they vote.
Right.
But if you don't say anything, if you don't make your voice heard, then that allows people to go on and move and vote and do things in seclusion.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like a dirty little secret. So I always encourage people to reach out, to call,
Right.
to email. You know, if you don't get a response, if you're ignored, then that says something to you about your elected official.
That's right.
You know, if they're not voting the way that you want them to vote, you need to say something. Don't just shake your head and say, it's nothing I can do about that. That's not true.
Right.
That's not true.
That's right.
You look at, and I don't know if a lot of people know it, but Delegate Frank Conaway Jr. Was the only delegate for Baltimore City that voted against the gas tax.
That's right.
I'm surprised that people have not been outraged about that and all of the taxes.
Right.
But I mean, things like that. If you have an elected official that is representing you well, then you should reach out to them and say, hey, I saw the way that you voted, and I agree with it.
That's right.
Or before the vote, say, listen, this is not something that I want. But when people don't speak up, then you allow the people to go ahead, the ones that are supposed to represent you, to
Right.
do what they want to do.
That's right.
And that's not what it's about.
I agree. Their accountability has to be our responsibility, or their responsibility has to be our accountability in terms of the constituents and the citizens, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, that they're supposed to, of course, be serving. Thoughts and comments on just this treatment of what we've seen of Councilman Carl Stokes, who was on the Budget and Taxation Committee, and I think I remember you being on the Budget and Taxation Committee also, right?
Yes, I was.
Yes,
I was. You know, I think that type of breakdown is very unfortunate, and it's not the way that the political process is supposed to work. It's not supposed to be rubber stamps. There's supposed to be checks and balances
Right.
for all
Yes.
all branches of government. There's supposed to be checks and balances. It's not supposed to be any one person dictating what everyone is supposed to do. I guess I don't like to be wish-washy,
Right.
but I can tell you that they certainly made an example out of me.
That's right.
So people that want to stay in office, think twice
Right.
before they become vocal. And that's why I tell people it's so very, very important that you let those elected people know that you support them.
Right. That's
This
right.
is not what I want, or this is what I want. Thank you for voting this way, or I don't understand why you voted that way. That's not what I wanted. You know, everybody can't get what they want all the time.
That's
But
right.
you have to let them know what you want, and you have to support them. If there's no support out there, then
Right.
what do you do?
That's
Do I
right.
make myself a target so the political machine comes after me next?
That's right. Yes, ma'am. And that's
We
good.
have to support them. We have to support them. It's very unfortunate. As I understand it, the developers said that they didn't need the money, but
Right.
they're going to do what they're going to do with or without the money.
That's right. Yeah, they can say they're not going to get the money, but they haven't put up their money, so obviously they do want the money. And who doesn't like Halloween?
Oh, absolutely.
Halloween in August, where they trick and treating, or they get more treats while the citizens are being tricked. Talk about the importance, I think, of again, I think our people becoming politically educated and understanding those committees in the city, on the city council, such as some of these powerful committees, and then also understanding some of these councilmatic districts, which are the banking districts, like the 1st District, the 2nd District, the 3rd District, the 11th District, because, again, I think these are the districts that have the banks in terms of the economics and where we see a lot of the development taking place, while other communities, unfortunately, are being neglected by this mayor, because we clearly know that the mayor and this city, in terms of the way the city constitution is drawn up, or the way the city charter is drawn up, the mayor in the city of Baltimore is probably one of the most powerful positions on the East Coast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me talk about the development in the 7th District.
Yes.
I was able to work on the Mondawmin Mall development project.
That's right.
At that time, I was able to get, I believe it was about $40,000 for Douglas High School because of that development.
Right.
I guess some people go in and they get money for their campaign.
That's what they do.
I got a school in distress.
Right. You got lights on the field. You got the pool fix over there. And, of course, you got jobs for our people up there in that Mondawmin Mall area, particularly around Target and other department stores wouldn't move into the inner city. So that was almost like what's the word I'm looking for? That was almost like the petri dish, because now we see Target is going to move into Canton, but prior to that, there was no Target, to my knowledge, in the inner city of Baltimore.
Well, people need to understand. Sometimes we fail to connect the dots.
Right.
So if people don't know, if they don't understand, okay, so why is that important to me? How does it affect me?
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
But to understand that at Douglas High School, there had been a pool that was out of service for more than a decade.
That's
that
right.
we were able to get fixed. When we walked into that meeting, and I selected some people from the community,
Yes.
we met with folks from Douglas High School. We had one meeting to talk about what the issues were at Douglas High School, and from there we met with the developers.
Right.
And we talked about the need of the school. They came in trying to push us towards whoever, you know, their charity people are. You know, you can
Right.
apply through them.
Oh, yes.
When we got finished laying the case for Douglas High School and talking about the need,
Right.
they came back. We were expecting, hoping and praying that they would give a little something.
Right.
$40,000. They gave money for music instruments. Douglas has an outstanding music program.
That's right.
Needed instruments.
Right.
Gave them money for instruments. So those kinds of things, the job piece, and making sure that there was a job fair in the district where people could apply for jobs and they knew about the jobs.
That's right.
Making sure that we had a quality market. Anytime you go into Shoppers, I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
They are busy.
That's right. And let's be clear, outside of, that's the only Shoppers supermarket, to my knowledge, in the inner city of Baltimore. Again, Shoppers normally just opens up in counties, you know, but
Right.
the only
Right.
Shoppers that's in the inner cities is there in the Mondawmin community. So please continue.
But it also demonstrated that we do have money in our community. We can sustain these businesses in the community. And then Shoppers, I work with Shoppers, and they donated brand new uniforms for the Gwynns Falls Football League.
Yes, ma'am. And
So those things
yes.
just coming out of one
That's
development project
That's right.
in our
Yes.
district.
That's right. That's right.
Even with the Walmart that wanted to come in.
Right.
When I met with them, I asked about jobs. You have jobs now, and they said, "Yes, we have jobs now."
That's
and I
right.
mean, my eyes lit up like it was Christmas time.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, well, that's the way it
I'd
should
like
be.
to have a job fair because I have people in my district that need jobs now.
That's right. Yes.
And that job fair, there were hundreds of people there.
Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, people came there serious looking for jobs.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things when we talk about connecting the dots and helping
Yes.
people understand why it's important to vote.
Right. That's
You
right.
know, what difference does it make to me? It makes a big difference.
Right.
It makes
That's
a big difference. We want to be able to shop in our own district.
Right. That's
You
right.
know, we want to be able to, we want to have these things, the amenities that other communities have in our district.
That's right. That's important.
So I think that there needs to be more education
Right.
around that, helping people understand how these decisions that are made on the political,
Right.
you know, side affect your everyday life. The fact
That's
that your young person
Right.
can go up the street and apply for a job at Target, or apply for a job at Shoppers, or apply for a job at Marshall's and all those other wonderful stores.
Right.
You know, that starts with the development. The fact that the Shoppers, I believe they have a 1 mile radius that they started out with for hiring.
Yes, ma'am.
That happens at the political level.
That's right. Yes.
So that sets the framework for that plan.
Right.
So people need to understand that politics is important to you. It does affect your everyday life
Yes.
and things that happen. So, I'm hoping that particularly young people will become more connected, will become more informed. I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to work with some young people, and it seems like once they get involved in
Yes.
it,
Yes.
they're hooked.
That's
They
right.
got it.
Right.
You know,
That's
they
right.
understand very clearly. So I think that there needs to be a greater effort that we inform everybody in the community why it makes a difference, and kind of try to. There's so many people that feel like it doesn't matter. You know, my vote doesn't matter. Your vote does matter. You know, I try to explain to people. You know, they always say, well, you know, they'll go to Roland Park, but they won't come to Harlem Park.
Right.
You know, and I say that that's not true. What you
Yes.
need are voters. You need voters and people who actually get out and vote.
That's right.
You know,
But
don't
get
just be a
engaged.
card holder. You got
That's
to
right.
use it.
Yeah, that's right. Get engaged is what you have to do. So you have
Right.
to be enraged, but also use that energy to get engaged at the same time, and that's very important to do on a local level. So no,
It is.
I thank you for just taking your time out of your schedule and sharing that information. So got to ask, of course, what comes next for you as we're now embarking upon your seeking the office of the Register of Wills. What comes next for Councilwoman Belinda Conaway over the next, I guess, the next 10 to 11 months now?
Well, there's a lot of footwork. We've already started with some of our initiatives, making sure that we're out and we're meeting people. And like I said, there are more and more people coming on board just from us being out. So the campaign group is growing. We're looking at using different strategies to make sure that I have the chance possible, making sure that people know, that are aware of some of the things that I've been able to do, and make sure that they know that my plan and my goal and my record shows that I represent people well.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Let's get some closing comments, and once again, your contact information where you can be reaching. Again, I just want to say thank you for all that you've continued to do for the citizens in the city, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, for the least of these in the city, and again, for your just, again, representation, finest representation of our people and for our people in the city of Baltimore.
Thank you so much. I do want to let people know that the effort on behalf of Robert Clay
Yes,
still going on.
that's right.
We're still working to have his homicide properly classified.
That's right.
And if you're interested in that, you can still email me at belindaconaway2014@gmail.com. We can bring you in the loop. There's so many things to do in the community, and there's so many people that need advocates, and we have to come together and work together.
It's a must.
So I'm looking forward to coming back into the political circle,
Yes.
but it doesn't make a difference where I am. I'm going to work on behalf of people.
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me say thank you once again, and go in peace, and I'll be in contact with you, of course, and just we love you for all that you have done and continue to do for our people, and making, of course, your family proud of you and our ancestors proud of you for the work that you're continuing to do, all right?
Thanks so much. Lots of love to you and your listeners as well.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, again, family, just tuning in, just concluded our conversation with, again, 7th District Councilwoman Belinda Conaway. She's Councilwoman at infinitum. I know some of you get an attitude, say, why you still call her Councilwoman? You still call that ex-kicked out, slicked out, tricked out sinister of yours Senator, and you don't never bother to even say, well, he ain't in the Senate. So as long as I'm here, let me be clear, she going to be the 7th District Councilwoman Belinda Conaway. So we're going to go to this quick musical break or this quick news clip talking about Congressman Jesse Jackson, of course, who's on that straight trail of jail along with his wife. But I don't have no empathy or sympathy. Only thing I do is say take your father with you based on his, again, criminal behavior around the death of the Honorable Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And, of course, his being a part of those who would become the anti-revolutionaries toward our civil rights movement, our peace movement, our liberation movement. So I have no empathy or sympathy for, again, Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. or his wife in terms of being on that straight trail of jail with no bail. Let me go to this quick musical clip from CNN, and then in the last couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about this so-called massacre in Egypt and how that's just part of a bigger plan, again, from the CIA to the NGOs in use of the Muslim Brotherhood, and how they will use, in the words of Sun Tzu, strike in the East when they really want to come and strike in the West using the same script for the most part. But if I don't get into all of that today, I'll come back and get into part of that tomorrow after I'm joined by, again, the Honorable Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. But again, let me go to this clip talking about Jesse Jackson Jr. and his 30 months in prison, which probably begins immediately. So let me go to this clip and we'll be back with more of the State of the City.
An emotional day capping a spectacular political downfall.
I still believe in the power of forgiveness. I believe in the power of redemption. Today I manned up and tried to accept responsibility for the errors of my ways, and I still believe in the resurrection.
Former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. pled guilty in February to misusing $750,000 in campaign money for personal expenses, like fur coats, high-end electronics, children's furniture, Michael Jackson memorabilia, and a $43,000 Rolex watch. making more than 3,000 purchases over a 7-year period. His wife Sandra pled guilty to filing false tax returns. Today, Jackson and his wife arrived at the federal courthouse in Washington, just steps from the Capitol in which he served for 17 years, to learn their fate. Jackson Jr. was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison for one count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, and false statements, less than the 4-year sentence government prosecutors wanted. The 48-year-old son of civil rights leader Jesse Jackson Sr. wept before the judge, saying, "I was wrong. I take responsibility for my actions. I know I have let a lot of people down." His attorney, Reed Weingarten, said the sentence was fair, but called it a sad day for Jackson.
The fall from grace is complete. My client, Jesse Jackson, went from an enormously respected, charismatic, long-term member of Congress to a convicted felon who's about to be incarcerated. So it's a day of deep sadness.
The case has taken a toll on Jackson's family as well.
I speak really today as a father. Most of my career has been spent outgoing, helping someone else on something I really understood socially or politically. But this one, of course, is home.
After Jackson serves his time, his wife Sandra will spend 12 months in prison.
Now, the judge agreed to stagger the sentences because the couple has 2 young children. And Wolf, one more thing. Jackson's lawyer argued his client's mental health should be taken into account in deciding his sentence. Jackson is being treated for bipolar disorder, but the judge said Jackson's team offered no evidence to show that that condition made him steal.
Welcome back, welcome back. Well, as the old saying goes, don't go to bed with no price on your head. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So again, I will have no empathy or sympathy for Jesse Jackson Jr., Jesse Jackson Sr., or any of them other Jacksons around their crime against our people, crime against Dr. King, the assassination of Dr. King. At least he can go and visit his son in jail. King family, only thing they can do is go and visit the King Center for Nonviolence and visit that memorial in Washington, D.C. So this is what they've left us. So we'll come back and talk about more of that over the next couple of days. You can forgive, but I'm not going to forget. And if you forget, I'm not going to forgive. So it was him being brash and arrogant at the trial of Governor Rod Blagojevich and them Chicago-style politics when Jesse Jackson Jr. was mocking Blagojevich and said, Elvis has left the building. Well, I guess Elvis has left the building now. And I guess Elvis has left the building now regarding, again, Jesse Jackson Jr. and his crimes along with his father's crimes. Let me quickly share this website that you can go and read about the Egyptian fake revolution and most of that Arab Spring over there. Most of those Arab Springs have been faked and staged. But this is from TomatoBubble.com. TomatoBubble.com, how to cook up a fake uprising of the people. And if I don't get into this today, I promise you over the next couple of days, I'm going to get into that and expose most of what you think over there is going on in terms of an Arab uprising is staged, just like most of that Occupy movement here was staged, and how some of these same organizations and some of these same agencies are using this to further take away the rights of the people over there, and they'll further use them over here to take away the rights of the people over here. And I'll remind you of John Coleman's book, The Committee of 300 and the 21 Manifestos of the Illuminati. And I believe that is point number 14 that they talked about, using the Muslim Brotherhood and some of these other so-called Muslim fundamentalists, just as Hitler used the brown shirts to use fear and scare tactics to socially engineer the people to give up more and more of their rights, so that you could have a totalitarianism coming in, as well as fascism that's coming in over there, as well as over here. Let's see if I got what point that is as they talk about the so-called Muslim Brotherhood. Point number 14. To suppress for the spread of religious cults such as the Muslim Brotherhood or Muslim fundamentalists, the Sheiks and the Sikhs, and to carry out mind control experiments of the Jim Jones son of man type. It is worth noting that the late Khomeini was a creation of British military intelligence, Division 6, MI6. This detailed work spelled out step-by-step process which the U.S. government implemented to put Khomeini in power. Well, if they put Khomeini in power, don't you think they didn't put Mubarak in power? If they put Mubarak in power, don't you think they didn't put Morsi in power? And if they put Morsi in power, don't you think for a minute that they didn't put Mohammed al-Baridi, Mohammed al-Baridi, who's connected to the International Crisis Group, George Soros, Kofi Annan, George Shultz, and some of the other ones in position of power as well. So we'll come back in and get into more of that tomorrow on the State of the City, and which my guest will be, again, the Honorable Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. So we're going to wrap up today's show. But again, as the old saying goes, don't go to bed with that price on that head, man. If you're Jesse Jackson Jr., Jesse Jackson Sr., or any others, because that murder is passed on 4 generations into your family. Unless you atone, seek reconciliation and responsibility around the death and murder of an honorable man and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and countless others that may have been murdered. But I'll talk more about that as I'll be joined in a few days by the living legend, Baba Dick Gregory. But again, we're going to wrap up, get up out of here. To get a copy of today's show, give me a call, 410-878-5298, 410-878-5298. And we do need your support to come longer and stronger. As many of you have been asking, how can you get a copy of the interview with Shahrazad Ali? Support the show. Don't just download the show, support the show. But again, let me thank Terra Cafe right there, 25th and St. Paul. Stop in, get you some lunch and get you some brunch, because we pack plenty of punch and crunch. Get you something to munch on, marinate on, and serenade on. Stop in and support Terra Cafe. Also, speaking of Terra Cafe, next Saturday, the 24th, from 4 to 6, we will have our brother book signing and lecture, Professor Griff. So again, you'll be able to get your tickets there after today, and you can pay there or pay at the door. The cost is $30. Food or meal is included as well, so you don't want to miss that. It is a fundraiser for the state of the city. Let me make that clear for you as well. But that's next Saturday, Terra Cafe, the 24th, from 4 to 6. Got to thank, of course, Charm City Chicken and Waffle Restaurant, located 807 Washington Boulevard. Brother Wayne and all the fine gang. Make sure you stop in, see them, and support them as well. They're open Sunday through Saturday, 10 a.m. Let me also thank PM Diversified Tax Services. Give them a call for your tax services, 410-367-5615. He will pick up and deliver your taxes. Let me also thank, of course, before we wrap up, the Black Man and Woman's Country Club. You know them as the barbershops and beauty salons. Got to thank, of course, Park Heights Barbershop, the brothers down in the mall, across from the mall now, Flair Hair Barbershop, and we're soon going to be joined by the owner, of course, Sister Sandra Tillman. Got to thank, of course, Brother Johnny at Johnny's G-Styles Barbershop and G-Styles Boutique right there on Monument Street, next to that raggedy, torn down market of Duncan Street, next to that market on Monument Street. So again, we do need your support, so make your checks, money orders payable to WFBR. WFBR, do a righteous drive-by today on your way to Terra Cafe. Drop it off, place it in an envelope, or you can send it to 159 8th Avenue, 8th, the number 8th, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060, and of course, 21060 or 21061, and we're done. 21061, and we're done. So again, I thank all of you that tuned in today to the State of the City. I thank Councilwoman Belinda Conaway, who joined me on the State of the City today, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 12 noon with, again, the Honorable Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, author of the book, The ISIS Papers. So in the meantime, in between time, God bless, all the best, and the rest to you and yours. Don't forget the boycott of Florida, and of course, the boycott of H&S Bakery and H&S Bakery byproducts. So until tomorrow at 12 noon, peace. We'll podcast the show on Spreaker, as well as our Facebook and Twitter page. So until tomorrow at 12 noon, stay tuned for more great radio here on Soul Classics, 1590 WFBR. I've been your host, Brother Muhammad. God bless, all the best, and the rest to you and yours. Peace.
Underneath the sun, please, 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 just let me show you, let me show you.